Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens literally are convinced that everybody on Earth is an employee, and the stories are ridiculous. And in today's episode, we've got Karens berating people in IKEA, throwing tantrums, thinking homeowners are the hired help. My goodness, it's a wild one. So sit back, relax, and seriously, try not to shake your heads too hard at some of these stories. Let's dive in. So for my birthday this year, I decided that I wanted to do a little shopping day out of town to get some stupid stuff, like special flavored oils or some nice hand soap. Just dumb stuff that brings joy that I don't normally splurge on. After shopping around all morning, we decide to swing over to IKEA to round off the day. And for some context, I'm a 24-year-old female wearing a multicolored tie-dye patchwork overalls with a bright red sweater. My partner's wearing jeans and a Hawaiian-style shirt and a bucket hat. For some further context, we have a shopping cart full of stuff, and I'm in the process of flipping through duvet covers. And this is when I hear a woman screaming, "Miss, miss," repeatedly from a distance. She's becoming more agitated each time. Now, try as I do to mind my own business, I was too tempted, and I look up to see what the hollering was for. I look up to find a woman across the main aisle of the store beaming me down. The woman literally huffs at me before yelling from across the room, "How do I get to my car?" I also want to add that this place is filled with other people, including actual employees. Now, I have worked in customer service since the day I could legally get a job, so I understand the public. I was also feeling birthday kindness in my heart, and at that moment, I chose peace. So I walked 2 to 3 feet closer, so I was in the main aisle, and I said very kindly, "There are actually arrows projected onto the ground on this path, showing you the way through the showroom." I smile and point to the projection and the path they were on. I paused a second afterwards to make sure she understood. I then nodded, thumbs up, and then turned back to what I was doing. My partner and I start to giggle about the transaction that should have ended there, but I get interrupted again. The woman says to me, "Well, what are you doing anyways? Why can't you just show me the way out?" And this is when that evil little chill hit me, when you know there's a problem customer you must deal with. My nervous system starts going off, and then a blissful calm swept over me. I was not an employee, and I have free will. I now much more loudly and assertively say, "I'm not an employee here, but I'm sure if you can ask nicely, they would be happy to help you." And I really thought this would be the end of it, but no. The woman just keeps yelling at me to show her the way out, and she asked what I'm doing anyways that's so damn important, completely disregarding what I just said. My feathers are ruffled at this point, not just at the Karen, but the employees who aren't coming in for an assist. I'm being squawked at over here, no defense. I choose not to respond, and I just let her figure this one out, as I was trying to savor my good vibes. She then begins her approach. Out of the corner of my eye, I see her jaunting over to us, huffing with each hip sway. As she reached the main aisle dividing the room, my partner, unlike me, was ready to match her vibe. He shrieks at her saying, "She does not work here." I just think, well, that's uncomfortable, but this definitely ends it. She'll be embarrassed because I'm embarrassed. But no, the woman doubles down and she screams, "I don't care if she doesn't work here. I asked her and I need to know how to get out of here, and you idiots won't tell me." Finally, I lock eyes with an employee. I raise my arm in the air and I point at Karen in front of me, and I tell them she'll be needing some help. Now, the look this woman gave me was almost worth the hollering. To make it even better, the employee said almost verbatim what I said to begin with. To follow the damn arrows. Honestly, if I were in OP's shoes, I would have pulled the whole, "Hey Karen, look over there," and just got out of there, right? Like, there's just no winning with some people, especially when they know they're wrong, they double down, and then they say something ridiculous like, "I know she's not a worker, but I asked her, so she has to answer." Like, what kind of BS is that? And this next OP gets mistaken so much for a worker that they literally become a worker. So about 2.5 years ago, I really got into thrifting. I love the thrill of the hunt and occasionally finding cute little treasures to put on my trinket shelves. Even better if I find something I needed to buy anyways for a better price. I started visiting thrift stores so often that I got very familiar with all of my local thrifts layouts. I'm not much interested in clothes, I just want to look at the household stuff, and thrifts are usually set up so that all of the household things are in the back of the store. As a result, I usually walk quickly through the front of the store straight to the decor aisle. Now, I guess walking quickly and confidently through a thrift store is enough to make it look like you work there because all of a sudden, I start getting people asking me, "Hey, do you work here?" And this happened at every single thrift I went to. The first time it happened, I was on my day off and I was thrift hopping as a fun activity on my day off. I'm just going from store to store looking for frog figurines and brass decor. The first store of the day, I squeeze by a woman in an aisle, and I hear the woman say, hello. I just continued walking because I didn't realize she was talking to me. And that's when I heard her say louder, "Hey, excuse me, I'm talking to you." I just stopped and kind of turned around to look at her, very confused. And she asked me, "You work here, don't you?" I just kind of laugh and I go, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't." Thankfully, she apologized. Now, I thought that was a silly little thing, and I moved on with my life, thinking that was the end of it. Then, I went to the next store and the same thing happened. I passed by a man who asked me if I worked there, and I told him no and moved on. At the next store, I came and browsed and shopped without incident. Then, as I was leaving, like I had literally 1 foot out the door, a young teenage boy and girl came up to me and they asked when the store closed. I said to them, "I'm pretty sure they close at 9 o'clock. The boy sort of looked at me like I was being silly and he asked, "Isn't that something you should know?" If it weren't for the previous 2 interactions, I honestly would have been confused by this. But at this point, my brain was already in "I don't work here" mode. So I assumed he thought I was an employee too. So I said, "I'm sorry, I don't work here." The boy looked like he wanted to die, while the girl just laughed at him and I exited the store. For the next several weeks, every single time I visited a thrift, no matter if it was a Goodwill, Salvation Army, a local place, or anywhere else, somebody would inevitably ask me if I worked there. At first, I just stuck to my "I don't work here" answer, but it started happening so much from so many different people that I finally just start rolling with it. If they asked me what's the sales color, I would say it's green today. If somebody else asked me where they would find the silverware, I would tell them the same place as pots and pans, the back of the store, 3rd aisle from the left. And the thing is, it happens at every thrift store and only at thrift stores. I don't get it at the grocery store or restaurants or anywhere else, only thrifts. Finally, I just figured, what the heck, apparently I'm good at this, so let's give it a shot. And I applied to the closest local thrift store to where I was living. I was interviewed and hired on the spot. I started out as a cashier, and within 2 weeks, I was in the back of the store pricing household items. After just a couple of days of pricing, my manager tells me, "Hey, you're really good at your job, like really good." I got a raise the next week. Within a few months, I was promoted to a team lead, and I'd been given several raises. I'll be working as a team lead at this store for 2 years in January, and I'm loving it. I get to see every single item that comes through, and I never miss seeing a fun treasure, and I love uniting those beautiful pre-loved pieces with someone who will cherish it. I have a job that I love, and I hope to be working here for many more years to come. And it all started with a silly question that most people dread: do you work here? So today, I'm at Costco getting my meds, minding my own business. This lady and her son bought one of the dressers that Costco's selling, which is fine, all good. They actually look pretty good. Mom decides that the two of them can get it in the car and she refuses help, despite the two of them basically being the living embodiment of sticks. I mean, anything's possible, right? So we make it out through the queue and we get outside, and they're about 8 to 10 steps behind me. Mom and son are bickering because son knows that she's not strong enough to lift aside. Mom won't have it though. I get closer to my car, only to find a young family struggling with a little 2-year-old, refusing to go in his seat. Inconvenient, given it's 95 before the heat-reflecting properties of asphalt, but whatever, I'm not in a rush. Kids will be the monsters they'll be. Mom and son try to lift the dresser to no dice, and to my immense humor. I've had to deal with her at work before, and she isn't the nicest person. Sadly, she recognizes me at some point, and she screams at me saying, "Get over here and help my son load this." I just pretended not to hear her, and I went about watching this child just mess with his dad, trying to buckle him in. And 10 out of 10, I would watch again with popcorn. The mom decides to tap me on my shoulder to get my attention. She says to me, "I said, help my son load this dresser." I tell her no, and my answer isn't taken well, and she has a freak-out moment. Even so far to threaten to return the tree she bought from us because I was being rude. To which I thought, good luck with that lady. You and your son can't lift a 150-pound dresser. Good luck lifting that 800-pound autumn blaze maple that's now had plenty of time to root in. I finally look at the son and I see his obvious shame that his mom's acting a lot like the 2-year-old, not wanting to go in the car seat. I agree to help the kid, so long as the mom doesn't touch it because she'll tip the box too much. We lift the dresser into the truck bed without too much of an issue, despite the fact that I took about all the weight. And this is when the mom decided that I need to follow them home to help unload the dresser and carry it inside the house. To which I thought, heck no, lady. It was a big enough I don't work here moment to even load the thing, let alone ending up back to your house to offload it. And the best part is, she ends up calling my job to complain that I was rude and not helpful. The sales staff knows that I'm off on Mondays and they ask what about. The lady, I guess, decides to admit that she was trying to bully me into helping her and she got laughed off. The post ends right there, guys, but you know, sometimes I read a post and I seriously can't fathom what it must feel like to be this entitled. Like, not only did she yell at OP to help her load the dresser onto the truck, but she wanted OP to then follow her to her house to unload it and then bring it into her house. And when OP refused, she's like, "Oh, let's call his real job to complain about him." Like, the audacity, right? I just feel bad for the kid. In this next post, a Karen makes a wild assumption. So this just happened, and I'm still a little confused. And here's a bit of background. I work from home, and we have a townhouse. There's another row of townhouses behind ours. I also like wearing blue t-shirts because I like blue and I'm on the spectrum, but mostly because I like blue. Anyways, I've had a bit of a work lull and I've been stepping up my cleaning routine. I spent a solid hour on my knees today scrubbing the kitchen grout that turned out to be light beige, not dark brown, and who knew? About an hour ago, the doorbell rings. I answered, and I found a random Karen on my front steps. Without any introduction, she starts right in saying, "How much do you charge?" I respond, "Pardon me?" The woman repeats herself and says, "How much do you charge?" I respond, "Charge for what?" Cue dramatic eye roll and equally dramatic sigh. She then says to me, "They let just about anyone in here, hey? Unbelievable." She then says in an overly loud tone and extra slowly, "How much do you charge for these cleaning services, for your cleaning services?" At this point, it dawns on me that she thought I was here cleaning. which is a bit odd because our front drapes were closed all day, so the only way she would have seen me cleaning is if she was looking in our back second floor windows, so yeah, creepy. Also, I'm not a fan of people who are rude. Doesn't matter if you think they're beneath you, there's no reason to be an a-hole. So I say to her, "Oh, I see, I don't charge to clean my house. Do you think I should send my husband an invoice?" The woman, not cluing in, says, "Give me your husband's phone number. I'll need to negotiate with him." I respond, "Oh, no need. He should be taking his lunch break soon, so let me get him for you." At this point, I shut the door in her face. My husband was coming upstairs and he opened the door, and Karen says to him, "Do you speak English?" My husband says, "Yes. Do you speak English?" The woman responds, "Yes, this is America. We all speak English here. Now listen here, your employee was being very rude to me. I want to hire your cleaning services, but she won't be welcome in my home, so bring somebody else. I'll need a full house clean tomorrow morning, and I'm willing to pay $80 if your staffer does a good job." At this point, the woman just stomped off, clearly convinced that she was getting her house cleaned. I guess she told her husband because the guy comes by 20 minutes later and he profusely apologizes. Apparently, this had been discussed already, and she absolutely refused to believe that we live there, and we have for more than 6 months now. He had told her to leave us alone, but this time she was determined. The husband tells us, "I told her you guys were the new neighbors. She just refused to believe me. She said you always wear blue uniforms and just couldn't be persuaded. I'm so sorry for this interruption." Yeah, I love how Karen assumed that just because OP's always wearing blue shirts, that she must be the hired help. Like, not everything is a uniform, Karen. Also, did she really expect a full house cleaning for $80? Like, not only is she super entitled, but she's also super cheap. And this person comments, "I'm guessing that you're a different ethnicity from your neighbor. It happened to us once. My dad was cutting the grass. I was playing on the porch, probably unseen, when this white lady stopped her sports car and she asked my dad how much he charged to cut the grass. When he didn't answer fast enough, she just said slowly to him, 'How much does the lady pay you to cut her grass?' My dad just smiled and said she generally just fixes me something to eat and sleeps with me. You should have heard her zoom away from our house. We joked about that moment until the day he died." And if you thought that was a head shaker, this next Karen believes that just because she's rich, everyone is supposed to serve her. So I was in a department store that's known for being a very high-end store. So this means it's full of entitled people. More specifically, entitled old ladies. Now, I've had people mistake me for an employee there on multiple occasions, so I'll share the most interesting one. On this occasion, I was wearing heels and a floral dress. I don't know how somebody could think I work there. I go here a lot because I'm from a small city, and this is the only department store that's in town, so I guess people could think I work there because I go there so often. Anyways, it must have been near race day, horse racing, so all the fancy hats and headpieces were in stock. I was looking through all of them when all of a sudden I hear, "Excuse me, how much is this?" I respond with "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't work here." The woman looks annoyed, but she's still speaking in a civil tone. She says to me, "Yes, well, can you check?" Again, I say to the woman, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't work for any brand here." She looks horrified at me, and I'm very confused by this. She then slams her purse on the counter and she says to me, "Listen, how dare you say that to me? I'm a paying customer, you know." She said that loudly so everyone could hear, and everyone looked over but no one helped. The customers ignored it and the employees just looked confused. I say to her, "I'm sorry, ma'am." I just stand there in shock, and she goes on and says, "I have never met an employee as disrespectful as you, and I will be complaining." Do you know who I am? Do you know how much I'm worth and how much I spend in this store? Now, I didn't know this at the time, but one of the ladies from fashion went to go get a doorman. The doorman knows me well. He's around 70 years old. He comes over and says, "Is everything all right here, ladies?" The woman then barks and says, "No, not everything. Everything's not all right. I've never received such horrible service. With such ill-mannered staff, I will be complaining. You're all employees and it's your job to serve me." The woman then grabs her purse and she whacks me with her bag, and she makes a dramatic exit with everyone staring. After she's gone, everyone comes over and comments how insane she was. So yeah, just because you have money doesn't mean you're a god, even if you, quote, "make more money than I'm worth," which she also said at one point. Having money does not give you the right to act entitled. Gotta love that mentality though, right? I have more money than all of you combined, so everyone must serve me. Like, some people are seriously delusional, and what's wild is that Karen's probably not used to being denied service, and that's why she went all nutso like that. I'm worth more than your whole family combined. Do you know who I am? Like, good for you, Karen. Here's a cookie. Move along. This next Karen also thought she could be bossy. Listen to this one. So this was way back in August. I just moved to the city and I started working at a bank. I didn't have the company apparel yet, but I had a good amount of business clothes. Plus, I liked dressing nice. I was done early that day and downtown, and I was on the train ride home. So I figured I would stop to do some clothes shopping. I was shopping around the store in the business attire section, and this lady who only spoke Spanish asked if I spoke Spanish and if I could help her. I said yes, and then asked what she needed. The old lady in Spanish says, "Do you know where the suitcases are?" I respond in Spanish saying, "I'm sorry ma'am, I don't work here, but I think they're on the first floor." We both laugh, and she commented on how nice my clothes looked. It did make me blush a little because I'm self-conscious. And then she thanked me for helping her. Not even 20 seconds later, another lady comes up to me. In a not-so-nice way, she demands I get her another coat with matching pants in such size, asking why we had suits mixed up, and specifically to get her an effing dressing room since she had no idea why we only had 2 open. So I explained to her that 1, I don't know why there's only 2 open as I'm not in charge of the dressing rooms. 2, I don't know anything about suits, I just wear them. And 3, I don't effing work here. Well, the mean lady tells me, "Of course you work here. Why else would you be dressed like that?" I respond, "Because I like dressing nice, and frankly, it's none of your business." She then says to me, "I saw you helping the other lady, so please help me." Right about now, one of the actual workers saw what was going on, and they intervened. We both happen to be in the changing room, different stalls, and she starts going off on her phone about how some rude employee refused to help her. When I was done trying on new suits, she was talking to the manager about me, and she points at me saying, "That short one, he was so rude to me." The manager was like, "Who the heck is that dude?" And I just laughed and paid for my clothes. So the moral of the story is don't be a Richard, and someone might help you, even if they don't work there. So I work in a state agency providing long-term residential care for people with disabilities, and I regularly transport the people I take care of to various places, during which time I have to stay with them as they're not able to be left alone. The vehicle we use for the folks looks like a small shuttle bus, but there are no signs like there would be on an actual bus for use by the public. Routinely, when out and about with my folks, people will ask how long before we go to the next place, or the cost for fares, stuff like that. Despite the fact that I'm not at a bus stop, I always just tell these people that it's not a vehicle for public transport, and I can't help them. If they're being nice, I'll suggest who or where they might be able to look up something, or dial a ride and such. But if they're being rude, I'll just head off with whoever I'm out with. occasionally, somebody will walk up the stairs to get in the vehicle before I can stop them. Most do exit once I tell them the deal, but sometimes it's difficult to convince them. This specific incident I'm thinking of happened last summer. I was bringing somebody to see a doctor at the local hospital. It's not an emergency, just that the specialist had their offices in that hospital itself. The wheelchair-accessible parking near the entrance was all full, so I did what I sometimes have to do in such situations. I temporarily parked at the curb so I could get the person and their wheelchair out, with the intention of moving the vehicle over to one of the non-handicap spots that I could see nearby. After I open the lift, and as I'm pushing the person out onto it, this one woman climbs in and she immediately sits down. So I tell her my spiel and she ignores it, and she states that she'll wait until I get the guy out. I again tell her that she needs to get out of this vehicle, that it's not public transport. I tell her that I'm just here with this guy. She again ignores the majority of what I'm saying, and she tells me to hurry up because she's got an appointment to get to. At this point, I have no idea what to tell her to get her off the vehicle. She clearly understands English perfectly fine, but she seems to have selective listening going on. I get my guy safely to the ground, as I don't like having him sit on the lift this long, and then I walk back over to her. I get her attention waving my hand near her so she'll look up at my face. I reiterate that this is not a vehicle she can ride in. It's not a public shuttle of any kind, and she needs to leave. She just gives me this look of pure dismissal, and she says, "Knock it off with the lies. I don't want to hear it. I don't care if your shift is almost over and you're trying not to take another passenger to finish sooner, or whatever your stupid excuse is. The license plate says that this is a government vehicle. You'll just have to end your shift late, so too bad. Now hurry up so we can get going to my appointment." Despite being really pissed at this point, I try to again explain why she needs to get off the vehicle. That yes, it is a government-owned vehicle, but it's assigned to a specific location where the guy I'm with lives, and we don't transport anyone else aside from folks living in these places. I just ask her to look at the side of the vehicle to see that there's no signage indicating that it's any form of public transportation because, it's not. But she wants none of this. The woman pulls out her phone and she tells me that she's calling to report me to the police for not doing my job. Now, I can't leave her here to bring my guy to his appointment. And given that she's making us late, I call into the office to let them know what's going on, and they're as flabbergasted as I am. They send hospital security out, and they try to tell her the whole situation and get her to leave. It's not working though, and she's getting really belligerent. She's screaming and spitting as she does, making all kinds of threats, how she's reporting us all, we're all getting fired, all that stuff. Long story short, the cops end up being called, and she was forcibly removed from the vehicle and arrested, and I was in fact very late leaving my shift. I just can't believe it got to the point of her getting arrested, honestly. Like at any point before the police came, Karen could have got up and left, but no, let's double down and show everyone how outrageous I can be. That said though, very bold of Karen to get into an unmarked van and just assume it'll take her to her appointment. Like that's just asking to be kidnapped, isn't it? But hey, that's entitled Karens for you guys. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, it's an r/petty revenge episode, where OP's psycho boss accuses her of being a witch. And it's the worst mistake ever. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.